Okay, everybody. Over the years, I have had an opportunity to interview and talk and meet with, and on occasion fish with many legends in the fishing world. Whether it happened to be from, Jimmy Houston on up to, Scott Martin, having a chance to meet them, Hank Parker, recent people there on the tour. Whether it's Jacob Wheeler or Mark Daniels Jr., our good friend there, Justin Cooper, who we love to fish with there on Toledo Bend. But I've never had a chance to talk to this man right here. And once you talk to him and you look up his stuff online and you learn more about him, I will tell you one thing is that there's nobody like this gentleman right here that I'm talking about. A person that goes around the country, just an inspiration and sharing his story as well with it. Mr. Clay Dyer here with me. And Clay, we've never met each other face to face before, uh, but man, you have a story to go and end up telling and sharing with people. But let's first of all let's talk a little bit about your professional angler. You fished, for years now, and you're fishing. And now is fishing that number one thing you still do, or is it more along the lines of sharing your story, or a combination of both of those?
Uh, Patrick, it's a combination of both. I mean, we're still, I just turned 48, and I feel like maybe some people might would say I'm on the backside of my career, but I feel like I feel great. I feel right in the middle of it, and it's, they work off each other. It's the fishing. I love competing and all that, but it's a platform to share my faith, and I've always been a competitor. I've always loved the outdoors. So man, it's we're still trucking wide open one day at a time.
So, Clay, people look up or they say you're invited to come to a place, and somebody might look up to find out information about you. You have quite a story, and a story that afterwards a lot of people, might end up giving up a whole bunch. Man, I just can't explain it. So I'm going to let you explain it. You. Just tell us a little bit about it. I mean, man, I'm gonna let you start. You're 48 years old. You're an inspiration, but tell us a little bit about how things got started, because you faced obviously challenges from the very beginning. But man, you did not let those challenges bother you at all. Explain a little bit about your background.
Oh yes, sir. First of all, I'm blessed to get to live my dream. A lot of childhood people have dreams of being pro athletes. While I did play sports growing up, I played some baseball, a little basketball, a little bit of football. And I loved it, but it was one of those things where a lot of people maybe would have taken, the way I was born, which was a half arm and no legs. They would have taken that and used it as an excuse. And, they did tests. Of course, they didn't have the technology years ago that they have now, but my mom and dad never did drugs or anything. And, there was quote unquote no medical explanation as to why I was born what the world wants to perceive as handicapped or disabled. And I realized early on at about the age of 4 when I was looking around, looking at other kids and other people that had all their extremities. I looked around and I didn't say poor pitiful me. I didn't say, I didn't get angry or mad at God for making me this way. It was honestly, it was more like I saw it as an opportunity. I said, you know what, I'm gonna get off my butt, excuse my bluntness, and try to go make a difference in this world. And I've just always, every day, I've allowed my faith and favorite scriptures of mine to give me the strength, to make it through whatever adversity that I might face along the way. And I always had a dream of being a pro athlete like a lot of kids. Um, Nothing against attorneys and that type thing or engineers. That's just not my thing. Now my wife calls me MacGyver because she said, you're the only one I ever seen that can have absolutely nothing, to deal with, to work with, and you can figure out how to make something or you can fix something that's messed up. But I've always been a professional, but always wanted to be a professional athlete. And did I think that the Major League Baseball or NFL would draft me? Realistically, probably not. But I didn't let that deter me. I felt like fishing was a sport and an avenue that nobody could hold me back, and that basically, God opened the door and gave me the strength, and I said, you know what, I'm calling my own plays, if you will, and I can do this, and nobody can stop me. And thankfully, I've been very blessed to have have an incredible career. Um, when you look at the stats of my career, they're not good, not up to my standards. But just to know that I've been able to sustain a career and do it, and stay at this level has been a blessing to me.
Yeah. So when you started doing the fishing and you got out there, you did it, and you've probably met so many of some of the greats out there that fish out on the circuit. What's their reaction? What do they talk to you about, and what message do you share with them? I'm just curious. What's that like? What's that like for you?
Oh, it's kind of funny that you asked that. There's a very healthy mutual respect. I was blessed to when I got started. I was tremendously blessed to have some of the greatest in the sport to kind of be my mentors. Like you mentioned a while ago, I was blessed to meet, Kevin Van Dam, Jay Ellis, Hank Parker, Jimmy Houston. At the get go, and I mean Hank and and Kevin and I, Jay and I, all those guys. Denny Brower. But of all those guys I met, I'm very close personal friends, like with Kevin Van Dam to this day. We talk, several times a year. Me and Hank have done some ministry together, and Hank and I filmed a couple of shows together. And I was very blessed that a lot of them early on, when they didn't have to, they took me under their wing and tried to teach me, how to not only honestly making it, in the fishing side and how to raise the bar as being a competitor, but how to go about the business side of it. And I'm very thankful to have had them along the way. And it's kind of funny now, my a lot of people still kind of hadn't figured this out, but my stepson Brandon Lester, fishes the Elite Series, and Brandon and I both, we still fish the opens. And when we're both when we both get in the same division, we travel together and room together and all that. And it's kind of funny because Brandon and I, we're I guess that typical, some of the guys on tour choose a room together, and we're one of those typical, we're family. At the end of the day, we're gonna grill some burgers or grill a steak together, and we're family. But when we blast off in the morning, me and him love joking with each other of he knows I'm coming after him for 8 hours to try to beat his eyes out. He's trying to beat mine out.
I'm just curious, watching videos of you and things you do. You do them all self. There's technology out there that in this day and age that you could be using, things out there. Why is it that you make that choice not to? I'm just curious.
Because I'm stubborn and old fashioned. No, I guess the best way I know to put that to you, it's a reminder of me. I am old fashioned, and that's a whole nother story. I could, a whole nother lane, if you will, that I could go down. But I'm kind of one of those that doing it the old fashioned way reminds me of the grit, the determination to get it done. I've had a lot of times, where I've done videos of, for instance, I did one, Lord, well, I say I did it. I was actually, you might have seen it. I was changing a boat trailer wheel
Yep.
several years ago, and my wife videoed it. And of course, you know how social media is. You got your people that want to drink haterade all the time, and these people on are like, dude, why didn't you do it this way? And why didn't you do this? And I just laugh when I see those comments because I'm like, well, first of all, something like that, yeah, but I would have done it maybe a little different, but I didn't have those tools. It's kind of like I was going fishing the next morning. I had to suck it up and get it done. And but with that being said, a lot of people, for instance, you see these places on the side of my arm from hook scars, and people say, "Well, man, why don't you? Man, I could build you this. I could build you that. I could get you a leather sleeve." And at the end of the day, what it comes down to with stuff in fishing is, are there ways that could be less painful, or something like that? Yes. But at the end of the day, when I've got 8 hours, every second, literally every second counts.
Yeah.
And that's why I do it the way I do it, because it's the fastest, most efficient way for me to get my bait back in the water and try to catch more.
When you go out to these places now and being I guess we call a motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, sharing your story, what is that key message you try to send out to somebody?
Oh, it's without a doubt using your faith, your relationship with God to be able to overcome in life.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. I mean, we obviously, there's a lot added to that, but that's at the end of the day, that's the message. I've been a believer. Jesus has been my Savior for almost 30 years, and I've grown up in church my whole life. And I know He's real. I've seen Him do things that man on this world can't do, and it's that's my whole sole purpose, because I have a mission that, I know what He did for me, and I want to go out and show the world that the Bible is truth, and there's going to be a day um, that He comes back, and just I mean, when you look at what He can do in through the relationship with Him, not only do you have the incredible opportunity of spending eternity in heaven, but so many people on this earth, when they face things, in life, they just want to give up. And when you have that relationship with Him, He is, I've never once, it's never once ever crossed my mind, man, life ain't worth living, or man, I want to hurt myself, or, if somebody says, well, you haven't been through what I've been through. At the end of the day, let's just be real. You can either get bitter, or you can get better. And at the end of the day, I tell folks, you can either mully grub and whine and cry, and when something comes up, because life is going to throw you adversity. Life is going to throw you obstacles. It's going to throw wrenches at you. But you can either lay down and give up, or you can have the faith to dig in and square your shoulders and keep on trucking.
Yeah. You know, I'm not comparing anything what I do talking to
Sure.
people compared to you, but I oftentimes think to myself, if I get there on television and I'm in a tornado warning and I try to tell somebody where it is, what's going on, what's happening, or if I get invited to go speak somewhere and I talk to somebody and I say to myself oftentimes, I don't know if anybody's listening to me, but if I can make one difference in somebody's life or they're watching that storm come
Yes.
in and I can either make them feel comfortable, feel at ease, not be as scared, or maybe at the end of the day, maybe I impacted their life by saving their life. That's all that matters to me. Is that the same thing for you when you go and you give a message, whether you're fishing to somebody, so you're just talking to somebody for 1 minute by your boat, or you're in front of the people, as long as you can make a difference in one of their lives, you know you've done something that day.
Absolutely, Patrick. Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. I was just sharing. For instance, we do about anywhere from 70 to 90 of these events per year. We're typically somewhere at least once a week, if not twice a week. Along with being on the tour fishing. And I tell folks a lot of times, just like this past week, I did a whole school staff meeting for the Etowah County schools on Tuesday morning. On Monday morning, I was in what I can't even think, Monroe County, Mississippi, doing some. We're right where a big EF5 tornado hit back in 2011 when we had that big outbreak and just demolished the whole town. And then this past Saturday, I did a men's breakfast in Huntsville, Alabama, then turned around and drove 5 hours to Florence, Mississippi. And I tell folks, and I mean this, me and my wife both say this, there's times just like you, I'm sure, when you've been on the air for many, many hours covering weather, and you're trying to stay in tip top shape. There's many hours, many times that we get so physically worn down just because we don't want to pass up an opportunity when somebody calls and says, "Hey man, we want y'all to come in and minister." We get so physically tired sometimes and mentally tired we forget where we are from time to time. But at the same time, every time that I see one person come to me and say, "Man, thank you for what you do, man. It was because of what you and your wife stand for. Man, I want to turn my life around and be a champion." And I tell folks, that's why we do what we do. That's why we travel the thousands of miles a year we travel, is because I don't want to get to the end of my days and realize that I fumbled the opportunity when I had it, to make a difference in somebody's life to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. There. I'm going to switch gears up a little bit more
Yeah.
along the lines of not funny, because I mean it's not funny, but I look at it sometimes. How the heck do you tie a bait on and tie a knot without getting the hook stuck there in your mouth? I mean, I watched you do this video. I'm just like, how in the world do you do that? Or you've actually had a lot of hooks stuck there and you've had a lot of practice.
I was gonna say, I get them stuck there plenty of times. Don't let me fool you. No, um, it's. I guess it's a lot like in you. It's one of those things, just like with my casting. Um, it doesn't matter how many times you've done it over the years, you still work on it, trying to perfect it. I still, over the years, I've done it so many times, but I'm very careful. It's just second nature. It's like muscle memory. But I still, this day, sometimes when I'm in a hurry, let's just say, hey, man, let's just be real. Sometimes I just, just swung at 4 pounder in the boat. My line's a little bit jacked up, maybe from being in the rocks or something. And I'm at the end of the day and I'm in a hurry. And there's been times I've let it slip a little bit. And I tell you, of all the crankbaits, and stuff I've stuck in my arm before or the edge of my lip, the one thing that actually caused the most pain, I was tying a jig one day with a weed guard. And after right when I got it tied, when I was holding it, it slipped in my teeth. But when it slipped, it turned. The actual hook, the point of the hook went in behind my gum on my bottom of my teeth and got me in the gum right there. And the way the weed guard was, it kind of pinned it right there. So I was having to try to maneuver it and pop it back out. And yeah, that didn't feel too good.
Watching your videos too, you are and I don't know, maybe if I'm asking a question, it comes across in the videos, but I'm just curious if this is how you are when the cameras are off or not. Because I mean, I'm just wondering, you seem like a very independent person. Because I watched you there, like you say, you're trying to change, on the something on the trailer. You are going in your casting, you're doing the hook yourself, tying the knot and doing that. And then I see the fish on the boat, and then I'm like, how in the world is he going to pick that fish up? And then, you have a pair of needle nose pliers there with your mouth. I mean, is that how you are all the time? You are independent. I'm just curious when people are around you, are some nervous as, I mean, maybe your friends are all used to you, but asking you if you need, help or not or anything. I mean, how are you in that aspect?
Oh, I'm just like you said. My wife and all my family will tell you, and this is not to be boastful upon me, but it's funny that you asked that because people have asked me, like on Hank Parker, man, I want to meet Hank Parker. And I tell them I'm friends, they're like, man, how is he or how's Kevin Van Dam? And I'm like, look, man, they're the same in person as they are on camera. And I'm the same way, dude. I try to be me. And, I am very independent. I'm one of these that I have friends a lot of times that try to say, man, let me help you, or man, let me help you with this. And my wife will tell you, um, I mean, realistically speaking, something like, and I'll just throw this out there for an example, something like climbing a ladder up on a roof, yes, I can do it. Um, Now that I'm 48, do I just go out there for the fun of it and put a ladder up on the roof and go up it? No. If there's a need that has to be done, and I can't find somebody to do it, then I take care of it. I do what I got to do. But day in and day out, a lot of everyday stuff. Like we've had a friend of ours that they're actually about to close on a house that they bought, and they've been staying with us for about a week. And he does lawn care and yards and stuff. And bless his heart, he's while he's been here, we've been working on our farm, trying to clean up. I was bush hogging day before yesterday on the farm, and trying to clean up, the woods and stuff. And we needed a chainsaw. I found a new chainsaw, and I got one. My wife looks at me and she goes, "You are not running that." And my stepdaughter looks at me and she says, "Yeah, we need you to keep the only good arm you've got." And I told him, I said, "Look, I said, if I have to run it, I will." I said, "Because I can." I was like, but our stepson, he owns the land right beside us. So me and him work together, and keeping the land up and all that. And he was like, "Yeah, Hammer, you let me run the saw." He goes, "If I'm not here and you have to, you can, but you leave the saw alone so I can run it." But a lot of people, with everyday stuff, I see a lot of people from time to time. They're afraid they're going to offend me almost by saying, "Man, can I help?" or "Man, can I lend you a hand?" because they see me just doing my thing, taking care of business. And I want to say that how much I appreciate people offering, and I appreciate um, when people do get, when I allow them to. But my wife will tell you I'm pretty doggone stubborn, and I'm the type that where I could let somebody help me and be done in like 5 seconds. I turn it into a 30-minute project by lifting and moving something or have my own way of doing it.
Yeah. I can only imagine that your family, y'all are somewhere out somewhere. There's other people around watching, and you're doing a task, and your family's just standing around letting you do it, just ignoring you. And other people are probably like, "How in the world is my family doing that? That has to be the rudest family in the world, not even helping him out."
Yeah, it's it's funny that you said that because my stepdaughter, Brooke, she's her, of course, her and my wife both. They've got huge hearts. They're precious souls, and Brooke kind of knows that she knows how I am, and sometimes if we're out in town, like every year at Christmas, she and I always go. We kind of have a tradition. She and I always go about a week or two before Christmas, and we kind of have a day where we go and we shop together, and we shop for her mom and stuff like that. And a lot of times, there'll be something like, for instance, when I'm going to get my truck, I've got a crane that comes out and it's got a hook. I hook it on my wheelchair, then I do the buttons. Well, just as simple as hooking that crane, like, it's funny, she may be doing something else, and I'll be helping her load bags, and then or my wife will be with me doing the same thing. And where my wife, she'll go get in the truck, and people kind of look, and I'm like, I can almost see what they're thinking. I can see the look on their face, and I'm like, no, they would do it. It's just I've got it set up because I wanted to be 100% independently mobile. So I look at people, I'm like, no, I've got it. I know that they will do it. They spoil me rotten, but I do it. They do enough. I got it.
I want to go back to fishing here for just a quick moment here for a couple of things. One is that I watch your technique of reeling in using a combination of your neck. I'm assuming your neck muscles have to be so strong. I'm guessing. But what's it like though when you hook that one? You're like, oh gosh, that's the big one. I mean, what's that like for you in the field? I know the feeling for you and me is probably the same, but though is that a challenge? What's that like for you bringing that in?
Patrick, I try to treat all of them like they're 10 pounders, if you will. Um, I've learned over the years in fishing to control what you can control because there's many uncontrollable variables. So when I get that big one on, I mean, yes, I'm like, and I don't even honestly want to say that I don't want to discount it and saying that I'm not more fired up and excited. But I realize if I don't stay within myself, if I get too amped up, chances are I'm gonna do something stupid and lose it. So, for instance, when I get that big one on, like if it's in a tournament, I will like come near looking like, okay, let me make sure how I've got him hooked and stuff like that. But I try to fight him. I just try to take every opportunity in the moment, for what it is. And like if I get him up there on a crankbait, for instance, and I realize he's not hooked good, I'm gonna do like most other pros. I'm gonna try to do the figure eight with him or whatever to get him to hook himself better, or something like that. But as far as getting him in the boat, my philosophy is I'm kind of like, I don't know if you've ever heard Gerald Swindle say this. My philosophy is when I hook him, I want his butt to get in the boat so fast he don't even realize he's hooked. He's in the boat. My philosophy is if I see they're hooked good enough, if there's any way I can, my philosophy is the longer he's outside the boat, the more opportunity he has to come off.
Yeah.
And if I see he's hooked good and I've got the heavy enough line, I'm gonna jack him right over the side. I'm gonna use my St. Croix and I'm gonna boat flip him. Now if he's not hooked good, I'm gonna baby him, and if he's a big one, I think okay he'll pull off. Then I'm gonna get back there, and like you said, a lot of the guys, I'll get back there and while I'm holding my rod, under my jawbone, I take my right arm and reach down over the side of the boat and kind of cradle them against the side of the boat, and I'll just slide them up, over and roll them over into the boat like that. Or I've got some pliers, that's got the split ring, got the little tooth on the end, and sometimes, I'll ease the line around my hand where I can, turn loose of it if he starts surging going under the boat. But I'll take those pliers and I'll reach down and grab a hold of their lip with those pliers, and pull them over in the boat that way.
Yeah. Um, so I know I could sit here and ask you. We could talk for another hour or two, but I'm not going to do that now. Hopefully, in the future, we'll have a chance to do this again. But I'm just curious about one thing. So you're old fashioned in your ways. I want to say stubborn a little bit also because you don't want to change your ways. But I'm curious. This could unfortunately, when I ask you this question here, because we didn't plan any of this ahead of time, this could open up a whole other can of worms. So, question for you: everything's out there that could assist you in doing different things. Do you use live scope in your boat because of technology? I'm curious. Yeah,
Yeah.
what about you?
It's hilarious that you asked me that because I tell people now almost every seminar I do, I'll have somebody ask me with the attitude like you just did,
Yeah.
and I always usually have somebody come to me and try to start a controversy or start a
And
dispute.
I'm not doing that, by the way.
No, I know, and it's funny because the ones that try to start a dispute with me, I won't go there. I'm like, they'll keep prying me, and I'm like, look, dude, I'm not going there. I'm not that kind of guy. But with that being said, it is incredible technology. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And I've been blessed. I've been with Humminbird now for several years. And, you know, if you would have told me 10 years ago that we would have had this kind of technology, my answer would have been, well, they're continually improving stuff every year. There's no telling where we're going to go. But, I should have said, where we're going with this is probably going to be truly amazing what we have. With that being said, it's if you would have told me that I could look at a screen and been like, man, that's about a 5 pounder right there, and been able to actually tell about how big he is, and in most cases tell if it's a bass or crappie or striper or whatever it is, that to me just blows my mind because I mean, dude, you know me, I'm 48. I came up under when I started. We had little 4 inch or 5 inch graphs that you could put a fish ID on and show you about three sizes of fish symbol, and with that being said, yes, I have it on my boat. I do use it from time to time. I honestly, my way of using it, I don't do so much like some of the younger generation to where I troll around out maybe in the middle of the creek or whatever, and I'm just scanning, looking, standing there with a rod and reel, with a little minnow bait on it. Um, do I think it's amazing that technology is out there, and I think it helps curve the learning curve, shorten the learning curve, if you will, for some young anglers. Yes, I will be real with you. I have my concerns of the long term effect that it will have on our sport. I do have concerns there, and it's because I've seen firsthand some things when I've been on tour, and I'm not talking about people getting in arguments. No, I've seen some safety concerns that I've had literally where people get so locked in on their graphs trolling that they've almost run into docks or run into other boats and stuff like that. So that being said, to answer your question, yes, I've got it on my boat. And even when people had, before Bass, and other organizations made the change last year to only allow the guys to have one transducer, I've never been one of those to have three or four transducers just because um, I personally, and this is a personal preference, I personally love the old fashioned way of kind of that unknown factor of okay, I'd rather go out old fashioned, try to put the seasonal patterns together, find them, figure out what they want to bite, and go at it that way. And that's just a personal thing with me. And I've even told people, Patrick, this is just the God's honest truth. I've been in tournaments where I'm sitting there telling myself it's going to be one scoping. I know it's going to be one scoping. Um, and I love to fish to win. Don't get me wrong, but I want to do it my way. And I tell people I'm very blessed that I've got a career that I don't have to go out and make a check to keep going. I can go out there and I can fish the way I want to fish. If I catch them, hallelujah. If I don't, hey, I'm gonna put on my big boy drawers and go to whoever will kick my tail. I'm gonna shake his hand, and say congratulations, man, you whooped my butt today. Congratulations.
I think my views are sort of similar. I think it's revolutionized stuff. I go out crappie fishing with some of the best crappie guides in this area, and I think for crappie fishing, it's taught me a whole lot. It's taught me a
Oh
lot
yeah,
about bass fishing. I don't. For me, the bass fishing part's a lot trickier than the crappie fishing part, and I think too we're going to see a lot more of these. Smaller trails, like more localized trails, may not use them. But I don't think, in my opinion, it's going away in the major trails completely because I think there's too much sponsorship dollars wrapped into with it. But I think maybe there's a great combination. Maybe sometimes, and people may not agree with the entire techniques, but Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour, they've tried to take it out some. Like you can only use it in this period, but you can't use it in these two. Okay, maybe that's a balancing thing. But I also believe for some is that maybe say you can use it in practice to give yourself an idea of where the fish are, but when it comes game day, you can't use it because then at least that still is a challenge. I think it's a great tool. Uh,
right,
but some people would disagree with me because I do work with stuff with the high school fishing league. But from the standpoint of kids, I think it's good for kids for practicing, but I don't think it's good for kids in tournaments because not all the kids have it because we know it's
great point.
cheap. But that so I mean we could have this debate, discussion, and
there, man. It's I appreciate you reaching out to me today, and it's kind of funny when you reached out to me. I wanted to tell you at the start, and I forgot it. But last time we were down in Shreveport in Bossier City, we were staying at the Red River South Marina down there in a cabin, and there was some severe weather coming. And when you had sent me the email and you said you were the chief meteorologist, it hit me. I was like, "That's where I saw that guy." I watched you one night, and I kept a close eye because I'm a weather nut myself. I love weather. I love watching it. My wife calls me a little meteorologist. I'm the type that if I see, if you tell me there's a tornado coming, I'm gonna be standing on the front porch trying to see it. And as soon as I see it, I'm gonna tuck up under something. But I think it's really cool what you do, and I appreciate you trying to keep people safe, man. And I appreciate the opportunity. If we can ever help you again doing this, man, we'd love to work with you on shooting, man.
thank you so much. Thank you, man. That means a lot. Okay.